Good morning.
Hi, how are you, Lisa? Great to be in another conversation with you.
Yeah, it really is. It so is, Dominic. And I have such a big smile on my face because I know what we're going to talk about today. Well, I know the beginnings of the conversation. I have no idea where it's going to go. And I'm smiling because you said something that always blows my mind when I hear it. So I know I'm still in an intellectual kind of trying to figure this out for myself phase. And you said something along the lines of action doesn't create. Now that's me paraphrasing, but action doesn't create. And when I hear that, there's such resistance inside of me as someone who is I have a real bias for action. I'm like, oh, I have an idea. Off I go and bring it into form. And there's definitely action involved. So let's start there, Dominic.
Yeah.
Teach me, guide me.
Yeah. The maybe a great place is what the very last thing you said. There is action involved. And so we could say action is always involved. I think that might even be safe. Action is always involved. Especially in creation, in physical form, action is always involved. But the statement is that the truth is that you do not create with your action. You do not create with your action, you create with your mind. Creation happens in your mind. All creation begins in thought. So, and that's reasonable, actually. I think that's not even hard to get.
No, I definitely am following.
Yeah.
And then where I feel the but come in is that's the start. That's the start, but you also need this.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So we could say, and I think that's so let's try to make it easy by reducing the resistance in the conversation right away. Is I think everyone would agree that all creation begins in the mind. It begins as thought. Now, in a moment, people say, yeah, but what about those trees? And, if you talk about all creation, right? But let's just stick to kind of human creation for a minute. But there's not a single human creation. Like I'm holding up my iPhone, right? And it's kind of cool. Like, I mean, it is kind of interesting to realize that this began as thought. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of thought that has become this iPhone. A lot of thought. I mean, there are streams of thought that were birthed. Radio frequency, internet, chips, all kinds of, all from even different people, gathered thoughts and consciousness gathered, brought together more and more and more into all cooperative and harmonious into this eventual manifestation. And for sure, we could say, I mean, for sure, imagine how much action was involved in that creation. So I think, that might ease the resistance in this conversation.
I've chilled out now, Dominic. I've chilled out. I've been heard.
You chilled out. Let's see, look at us. Now we're open to this conversation. It's like, okay, it's not totally crazy, right? So far we're, this is all good. It's all obvious. It's all in agreement. So what I think is so important in this is the reason, in the work you and I do, and like when we look at the 3 principles, even the way we coach, like all that kind of stuff, our power comes from pointing people to their power. And even that's an awkward word because it's not their power, but it's pointing people to power, to the source of where the real power is. You know, the kind of I don't know, less effective coaches, let's say, and me, and I'm sure you at the beginning of your journey is, well, and in particular, before sort of spending time in more deeply exploring what's true, right? We spend time with everybody else out at the fringes where there's no difference to be made, which is in conversations about doing. You know, yeah, I see what you're doing isn't working. Let's talk about it. Let's see what else you could do. So we're spending time in these conversations, waste of time in these conversations, because really action is not creating. And now there's, you know, two of us convinced that the action this person has taken really isn't creating what they want. So we should try to think up some other action, some more effective action, or maybe we know of more effective action. Like we might even know, well, I know what you should do, and it should be this. So this is the kind of where a lot of coaching goes, right? Out there. But what we're really, but creation isn't happening in action, because your action is creation. Your action was created. Your action came from a source. So this is what the trouble is. What you're doing when you focus on action is you are not at the source. You are not at the source of your action. All of your power comes when you are at the source. Only from the source of your action do you have any power. Once you're at action, you are in form, in what has been created from a source that is before the creation. And you cannot affect creation at the place where it's already created. You cannot affect creation there. You can only alter or influence creation from its source.
So let me see if I'm following along here. I'm going to try and say it in different words. Just
yeah,
see if
it's always helpful when you say it in different words. People go, I understand what she said. I don't have a clue what he said.
What? So this is what I'm hearing, Dominic. Essentially, the action is a manifestation. It's like the manifestation process started here at source, like way before this occurred. And that is, the action itself is a manifestation of the frequency, of the vibration, of the thinking. And then we landed here. And then from here, we can continue to manifest. This is not the starting point of the manifestation, because often certainly when I knew absolutely zero about who we are and all of that, it was like, well, it's this point where the creation starts. And what you're saying is actually there was a hell of a lot of stuff that occurred up until this point, and this point in itself is a creation.
That is a creation. Yeah. So what you're looking at is with action, behaviors, all of that, that is a creation. The client or us, our behaviors in what we're eating, whether we're exercising or not exercising, whether we're having conversations with potential clients or not having conversations with potential clients. All of this action is the manifestation. It is the expression of something before it. And so Yeah, to fool around with this action into better action and all of that, you're not altering the creation. You are dealing with the creation and now trying to move it, like do something to it. And this is why, by the way, that's we could say that's impossible. It's not natural. There's nothing you can do, because what you do there would require tremendous energy. And it would require tremendous physical energy, meaning finite energy, meaning you would have to expend that kind of energy in action. So what happens is there is a natural action, but it isn't what you think is going to get you what you want. When you see what's going on, well, you're not making any calls, you're not talking to anybody. What the hell's wrong with you? Right? So you need to do something. And right away, the conversation begins at the level of action. You need to do something. Of course, your business isn't working. Well, of course, your career is not going to go well. You're not doing the right things. And then right there, the conversation begins at the level of action, at the level of doing. And then we say, here, look, do this stuff because this stuff will work. Well, the trouble is that in order to do that stuff instead of what you're doing, somehow you would need a source of energy into these behaviors. There is no such source. So in order to get that behavior, all the energy into the new behaviors is coming from a motivation or reaction to the absence of what you want. I don't have enough clients. I don't have whatever. So the source of the action. So I'm going to run Facebook ads. I'm going to do whatever. So the source of all action is sourced in an absence of clients that manifest into actions to create an absence of clients, so that what will manifest is an absence of clients. Okay. That's what you create when you do it that way. So that action, which is in reaction to that, will keep perpetuating more of that same essence and energy from which the action was born, from which the action was birthed, and it will birth into a full manifestation of the essence.
So let's take that scenario then, because it's a common one, right? So there's some thinking about an absence of clients or an absence of something that we want. And then there's some go-to solutions in our head that get created because this is now a problem that we need to solve and overcome. And so if that's what not to do, let's say,
yeah,
what do we do? Like, how do we get back upstream to manifest an inspired action, to find something else? What's the alternative?
Yeah. Well, you are always being inspired. You are always 24/7 being inspired to act in the direction of your true desire. So that's never shut off. So there is a continual energy and inspiration flowing through your breath. It is through your breath into your mind, an energy, a vibration that moves toward the manifestation of your true desire. That's the only energy that flows through you. There is only a source of well-being. There is only the truth of you ever living you. And the truth of you, this is important to see. is the truth of who you really are, your true nature, and the nature of reality. So it's always perfectly true, but there's something else it includes. Is the truth of who you are is the truth of who you uniquely are. The truth of who you uniquely are as a unique expression of all that is. Within this uniqueness of you is unique desires. Unique expression includes unique desires. So this
Okay.
is 24/7 coming.
So when you say true desire and unique desire, are they different things?
It's the same, but you see all that means is your true desire is not mine. That's
Mhm.
all that means. Your true desire is also unique to you. It is uniquely created by you. So that's another thing that people get all worried about. Oh my God, don't talk about true desire, because what the hell is that? Am I going to have to be like a missionary in Africa? Is that what's actually in there?
Yeah. So can
But
you say a little bit more, Dominic, about true desire?
yeah, this is important. It's kind of like the thing that gets you to relax and trust. Because when you look to the beginning of creation, the beginning of any creation, well, it's thought. But what is thought? It's focus. It's clarity. It's clear focus, right? You can even think about it like clear focus, clear vision is the beginning of something that eventually shows up in form. How does something get clear? Well, first off, I think the thing to know about creation is everything we're talking about is kind of like so obvious. There's nothing in here to believe, but it's like so obvious, but it's just we got to stop and calm down and look, right? The universe has only ever created what is. How obvious is that? The universe has only all that has ever been born in reality and in the universe is only what is. There has never been the expression of what is not. There has never been the creation of the absence of something. You know, I think what I'm going to create today is the absence of something. The absence of something has never been created. Only the presence of something has been created. That is all that creation is the expression of something, never its absence. Why is that important? How we create, in order to, for the presence of something to appear, to be manifest, it must be focused upon. That sounded like a doing. This isn't a doing. There must be clear focus. In order for the manifestation of anything, there must be clear focus. Focus is thought. Focus is consciousness focused. Sydney Banks distinguished divine thought from personal thought. And this is where it's important. Divine thought is unopposed. Personal thought contains opposition within it. So divine thought is unopposed. It is unopposed to anything, right? So when God said, let there be light, there was no opposition. And that's why that manifestation, the manifestation is instant at the speed of thought. It happens instant. All manifestations, we could say, are instant manifestations. Just takes us a while to clean up our thinking. And sometimes
That could be an understatement of the year, Dominic.
That's the understatement of the year. Just takes me a little while to clean up my thinking. And by the way, and sometimes I think that I need processes or action in order to clean up my thinking, in which case the action does help clean up my thinking. And here's the other part. As long as I think that that action is required, it is required. That, right? So this is a bit circular, but it is also true. So, okay. So the what we were getting at is the true desire. So from a finite perspective, you and I, physical beings, we do walk around a lot and kind of go, yeah, there are people on the streets without enough to eat. That should not be. We do. We walk and we see that there's a war going on, and that should not be. My bank account is not like that, should not be. And there are bills coming, and right. So we are focused into a manifested reality. And we could say that where we are most clear, where our greatest clarity is in what should not be. But here's what's missed. You cannot know what should not be without also knowing what should be. And forget the word should, that has a lot of baggage to it as well. But when I am most clear about what I do not want, I cannot be at a heightened level of clarity of what I do not want without in the same instant, the clarity of what is wanted must exist at the same time. It's not possible. I cannot experience an unwanted level of scarcity if not for the equivalent abundance on that. So it must exist at the same time. Your mind can't conceive it.
Yeah. Okay. So when you know what you don't want, and by default, then you must know what you do want.
Yes.
You can slow me down if you have more.
No, keep going. You're doing good.
About this. So this idea of, okay, so now I know what I want, but I don't have it.
That was a big jump.
Yeah, I know. That's why I said
that one we're going to slow you down.
Because I'm like,
yeah, no, that one will slow you down because see, what you have clarity in is what you don't want. And the reason you have clarity in what you don't want is because of this physical focus, because if you were an eternal being, you couldn't focus like that. The absence of what you want could not exist. Because from the infinite eternal perspective, there is no absence. So it could not exist. From your broader perspective, you could not perceive of it. So it's only from the personal that you could even distinguish something like that. That's because it makes sense, because that's a finite, limited perspective. That's essential. It's required, or you could not distinguish that something is absence because you're not seeing the whole.
Mm-hmm.
Right? If you were the whole, then there's no way to distinguish that.
So why is that important, Dominic?
Well, because all creation is co-creation. So all creation is co-creation. It's you with your broader perspective. It's you with your source. It's not you with anyone else. Everyone else is a cooperative component in your creation. If they are a match to it, they join you. If they're not a match to it, they leave. And so all creation is a co-creation, and it's a co-creation between you and your source. And all we care about is just this relationship between you and you. So as you focus here, there's a finite perspective that distinguishes the absence of something, while there's a broader perspective that only knows the presence of all things. This is so important.
And it's important because the feeling is different when you're connected to the knowing of who you are versus the thinking from the scarcity, smaller personal mind, or something else.
That's true. That's true. So for as long as your mind and your thinking is deviating from the truth, then there's a feeling in that. There's always a feeling because your mind is always slightly deviating. You're never thinking as source. Otherwise, you should have stayed there. You don't come here to think as source. If you wanted to think as source and be all love and bliss and all that stuff, then you should have stayed there. Don't come here and talk to me, right? But we are here for the joy of expressing who we really are. We're here for the joy of that. We're here for the experience, to experience who we are, Well, who are you? A creator. You are here to experience yourself as a creator, right? So yeah, you will always deviate slightly from all that you are. You must, because without that deviation of the personal thinking, you cannot experience. You cannot experience the whole of who you are. You can only know the whole of who you are. You can only know the whole of who you are. You can only be all that you are. And in order to experience it, you must think. You must think, and you must deviate ever so slightly to experience all that you really are.
I'm not going to lie, Dominic, this is blowing my mind a little bit at the moment. There's an image that keeps coming into my head of like me with a big, gigantic remote control and like operating me.
Yes. That's such a good, if we took that metaphor actually into you playing a video game where you are, that's exactly it. So there is a you in movement of a character experiencing a world which you have created. You designed that. You have thought. There is not a single thing in that video game, not a single environment, not a single thing in it which did not come from your own mind, right there. But here's the deal. This is why I said there has to be a deviation, because you have imagined all of this stuff. It's born in thought. All that is who you are, and you've imagined it all. But to experience it, you must engage with it. You must engage with it. You must go into it and experience it from within. You must experience it from within your own mind. And so here you are, broader you, deciding, I think I'm going to play a video game. And then you do, and so then there's Lisa, the character on the video game, and there you are. And here's the thing: you have to get lost in it, or don't play.
You mean broader me has to get lost in it? Yeah.
Well, like
Oh.
that. Well, even if I looked at you playing a video game, if you were playing a video game and you're sitting there talking to me going, it's just a video game. It's just I don't care where she goes. I don't care what she, I go, Lisa, let's say we were playing games together. So you're Lisa, I'm Dominic, we're on the video game, and you're sitting there. Well, I don't care. I don't care what she does. I'd be like, look, you're either gonna get into this or get out. If you're gonna play this game, you've got to get into it. Well, but it's only a game. What? That's annoying. You're annoying me now. Don't say it's only a game. Like, you've got to get into it. Unless you get lost in it, unless you really engage in it, you can never enjoy this game. You see what I mean? Until you forget who you really are, until you really become focused.
Is it possible for the Lisa in the game to do things, be things that is in complete opposition to the Lisa with the controller?
Well, that's a great, that's a really good question, actually.
Oh, thanks. I knew I'd get there in the end, Dominic.
No, come on. But I can't even, these answers are just coming because of your questions. That's the only thing. I don't have these answers until you're asking these questions. Because you're causing me to look, right? See, that's a really great question, because here's the truth. She doesn't move without your moving her. Do you see that?
I think
she does not move without your moving her.
I think I do see that. And I think that when things feel harder, let's say, it looks like the Lisa in the game is kind of interfering. So it almost looks like she has got a little bit of control here. There's some free will going on.
This is really good.
She's nicked the controller from the big,
This is really good, because of course we know that's not possible, right? We know that's not possible. There's no way she could ever control. She doesn't move without your movement. But here's what is happening, though. You are so lost in her that she is moving according to what she wants to do. She is moving around according to what she's doing. And you are so lost in her, focused as that, believing that that is who you are, that you are now moving in the game as her. You are, in fact, we could say, this is absolutely not true. We could say you've separated. Not true, because you can't separate. But boy, it seems like it. Because there's no more you. There's only her. And she's doing what she wants. But that can't be true, right? You just could be lost as believing you're her. But it can't be true that you're ever separated.
Yeah. I remember you sharing once, might have even been in these conversations around, these weren't your words. Again, this is my interpretation. So like,
everyone's going to love your words. Way better. They're like, Lisa, come on, tell us what he's saying.
It's almost like, you don't need to be worried about her being lost, because eventually she's going to get so lost she wakes up.
There you go.
So it's like,
you can't do it anymore.
now we're all in it together. Like, we've always been in it together. It doesn't matter that we're lost in it together, because at some point something is going to occur that is going to be not this way, you know, or something like that.
That's it. Because she'll be so lost and so unable to get to what she wants. She'll be so thinking she's doing something that benefits her, but it isn't, and it won't. Because here's what's missing. Why is she doing that when there is you over here who sees the entire freaking game?
Mhm.
How ridiculous that she would be acting without you.
Mhm.
It's ridiculous. Like she's wanting this and this, and you see the entire game, and that's over here. And those people are the ones who, by the way, because you're all of them, right?
Mhm.
And those people are the ones who want what it is that she's doing. So she has to go from over here to over there, right? But what the hell is she doing? She's like off over here. And it's ridiculous that she would not be using her whole self.
Mhm.
Makes no sense. Can only be because she does not realize who she really is. She's
Yeah.
forgotten.
I think I'm hearing it as though, like, in all those moments I am using my whole self. It's just that my whole self knows I can relax about letting her find out the hard way if she really needs to. You know, it's like, that's the wisdom of my whole self, is saying that's okay too. There's no right or wrong.
Yeah, that's really good, because there's nothing serious going on here.
Mm.
That's the reason you relax. You're an eternal being. From your whole self's perspective, what are you doing exactly in this video game anyway? What are you doing exactly? You are experiencing yourself in infinite ways. Does it really matter what she does? Who cares? That's an experience of yourself, isn't it? So whether you're experiencing this or that or the other thing, you are having an experience of yourself. Multiply that 8 billion times, bring in some animals and minerals and all of that, and bring that consciousness in, and you're into trillions and trillions and trillions of aspects of experience of who you really are. Does it matter what any of that experience is? And by the way, and once that experience is over, won't you just be back in the game with another unique experience, and then another one and another one and another one and another one and another one? Can you really get it wrong? It's all experience. Enjoy all of it.
Mm.
From the broader perspective, nothing's gone wrong. It's all great. It's all good.
Mm. Okay. So what about the little perspective,
Yeah.
where it does look like it does go wrong?
Well, sure,
And it is important. And I'm playing a serious game here, Dominic.
Yes. Well, and and if the two of us were playing next to each other, two aspects of the whole, and playing next to each other, like I said, you need to get in the game, or you're annoying, right? So you got to get in the game, play with me. We got to pretend here that, right? And we got to be fully engaged. This is real. We are, right? That's one. But if you start getting a little off kilter, like, oh my God, this is terrible, my life is ruined, da, 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 da. At some point, I'm going to look at you and go, Lisa, you really need to get a bit of perspective here. You kind of need to wake up, because that's not true at all, right? Back up a minute here, because you've totally lost yourself.
Mm.
So do you see the sort of the balance of this?
Yes.
You came for the joy of it. You came for the joy of this experience. You don't look to me like you're having a lot of joy. I think you're missing something, and I think you need to wake up, because you're not having a lot of joy.
This is where you give me the perspective potion.
That's the movement.
Yeah.
See the movement? It's
Mhm.
like there's a movement in and out, and it's all in the feeling, which
Mm.
says, where are you in the feeling, right? And that feeling of joy and bliss is the reason Joseph Campbell said, follow your bliss, follow your bliss. Because if you were able to surf this life at the most precise balance of all that you are fully engaged as that being, that is bliss, because you are God acting in the world. Wow. There is nothing you cannot be or do or have. There is nothing you cannot be or do or have in this playground. Nothing you cannot be or do or have. And so imagine creating in this playground as God. That is bliss, right?
Mm. Yeah. There's something about find the feeling that is helpful when you're in the feeling, but it can become another desire of like, like oh my gosh, I'm not in the feeling and I need to be in the feeling to be able to manifest something. And sometimes I can see how that trips people up.
Yes.
It's like a need to be in the feeling, and then all of the focus goes on the lack of being in the feeling.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, could you imagine riding a bike like that? Just imagine riding a bike like that. So I know I need to be in the feeling of balance. I get it. And so I'm going to ride and wait. I don't think I'm in the feeling of balance, that I need to be in the feeling of balance. Oh my God, how awkward. Like, that's got to be a very immature understanding. It's got to be a very lacking of understanding to be so concerned with the feeling, as opposed to so much attention on the feeling. And my sense is a lot of teaching of some of this stuff really isn't helpful in the focus of its conscious attention to this feeling, because that would be like we're teaching people how to ride a bike and keep telling them that the most important thing is balance. The most important thing is balance. It's the feeling of balance. And every time they talk to us, we keep saying to them, it's all in the feeling. It's all about balance. After a while, we are annoying.
Mm-hmm.
We are no longer helping, because really the ultimate is you're not paying attention to the feeling. You know the feeling. You embody the feeling. When you know what balance is as a cyclist, you do not have attention.
Mm.
You're not riding with attention to the feeling. You are riding and enjoying the ride. The feeling is an embodiment. The feeling is moving you. You are not paying attention to the feeling. That feeling moves you. Once you know what that feeling is, it moves you. You shift your weight. You do this, you do that. There is no attention to the feeling. There is only attention to living. No attention to the feeling. It is living your life.
Mm. So are you saying, Dominic, like learn to ride the bike and the feeling looks after itself?
It will.
Mm.
This is why Sydney Banks, after a while, said, people came, they'd come to his island, he was talking, and after a while he said, it's just stop talking about all this stuff and go live your life.
Mm. Mm.
Because it's not helpful. Because you're paying too much attention to this. Go live your life. In other words, living your life will teach you all you need to know. It will teach you all you need to know. Once you get the feeling, once you distinguish it, once you can discern. And here's the thing, that's not even a thing. It's just it's a matter of realizing you are always feeling something. You are always feeling something. And do you know what it means? That's all it is. And if you don't know what it means, your life will show you. Your life will show you. You don't need to go to school for this. Do you know what it means when you feel something? Well, I don't really know what it means. Well, don't worry about it. Your life will show you. It will show you what it means when you feel something. And once you realize what it means when you feel something, just like live your life. Live your life, and your feeling, the feeling that you're in, will tell you whether to like shift more weight on this side, shift more weight on that side, so that you can live your life effectively. You can live your life in a way that is joyful and fun, right? So, well, what the hell does it mean how I feel? What does it mean how I feel? Well, can you feel? Well, what Sydney Banks gave a shortcut. He said, your wisdom's all in a positive feeling. There's a shortcut. That's it. That's all it is. All you got to know, wisdom's in a positive feeling. Joseph Campbell said, follow your bliss. Follow your bliss. Okay, it's bliss. Bliss is it. Just follow your bliss. There's a channeler called Bashar. He says, act on your highest excitement. Your highest excitement, that highest level of energy within you, contains your greater perspective. Just, that's it. Are you acting on your highest excitement? That's his only question. Are you acting on your highest excitement? Because acting on your highest excitement, then you're there. Abraham Hicks says, nothing is more important than that you feel good. Make nothing more important than that you feel good. That's like saying to a cyclist, nothing is more important than your balance. Mm-hmm. Yeah, but what about these other things? Like, what about, like, I've got bills to pay and stuff like that? No, nothing is more important than your balance. And then do anything else you wish to do, but nothing is more important than your balance. And then do whatever you wish to do after that. So that makes sense if you're a cyclist, if that's the way you get about in the world, if that's what it is. So yeah. It's all in the feeling. That's the only thing that matters.
Yes. So I think that is where people get caught up in an urgency, a desperation for, like, how do I get the feeling? Because
well, there you go.
So how important it is.
There you go. You just said it. An urgency, a desperation. There's the feeling. Mm-hmm. Yeah. There's the feeling. This is why I'm saying it's an awareness of the feeling, an urgency and a desperation. There you are. You've got awareness of the feeling. And now what is there? Well, make nothing more important than that you feel good. You're off balance. Make nothing more important than balance.
Yeah. I'm noticing this because I've only, I would say, more recently gone into really listening to a lot of things around law of attraction. And so this idea of following the feeling has been more dominant in my life. And so I am noticing, like, what does that do to me when I hear that message on repeat and it doesn't move me into a better feeling? Good. That's good what I'm noticing. Yeah. It's like, gosh, that creates the urgency, this constant programming of, like, you've got to be in a good feeling, you've got to follow the feeling, you've got to, it's like, oh my goodness. So I'm noticing that it moves me away from the good feeling, which is why it was interesting when you were sharing about when you're teaching someone to ride a bike, it can be really unhelpful to just keep fucking saying to them, yes, balance, because it's like,
it's annoying.
Balance.
It's annoying. It's like not helping.
Yeah.
Right. Here's the paradox too. Like, here's the paradox. Pretty much, and this kind of goes back to what we said at the beginning of the conversation to some degree, but here's the paradox. Pretty much if you're a cyclist, you are never in perfect balance. So there's the paradox. Okay. So you are never actually in balance. You are never actually in perfect balance. This is the paradox. And if you try, by the way, let's say some way, somehow you could be the one person to achieve perfect balance on a bicycle. Oh my God, would that be ugly? It would look ugly. It would be the most awkward looking thing. That's what an AI would do. You'd be some kind of a robot, not a living consciousness. That is not life. So see the paradox?
Yeah. Yeah, I do. I really do.
Nothing's more important than balance. Oh, but you better not be going for perfect balance because, oh my God, what a horrible life that would be.
Yeah. I mean, I
Paradox.
can see how people get confused, right? When they're like listening and wanting to hear something that's going to be helpful. And so really trying to listen and take it in and trying to intellectually get it so that we can learn it.
Yes, you can see, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Because it's not in these words. These words that we're speaking, someone might believe them. And then all they've heard is some words to believe. Like, follow your bliss. That's my new rule. That's my new rule. The surrender experiment, to some degree, which, by the way, is an extraordinary story and an extraordinary book of how cooperative the universe is in co-creation. But what many people can be left with in the surrender experiment is a rule. Always say yes. Always say yes. Always say yes. Well, then you can program an AI for that. But that's not life. So if in reading, say, the surrender experiment, if what you're left with at the end of it is a rule, and by the way, it's easy to misunderstand because we're all listening for the short answer. And notice the other thing is we're listening for, what should I do? What should I do? Tell me what I should do. And that's why I said, well, if you hear it as this thing that you would be doing, that you must do, right? Then it misses it, because that in itself is in an action form, not a being state, right? So, and in the doing state, that's useless anyway. So it's in the being state that matters. So if what you're listening for is what to do, then you're missing the being state that we're pointing to. But the being state can only be pointed to. It can't be told. I can't tell you a being state. So that's the problem with this. So you listen for what to do, but it doesn't work. And so you have to hear beyond the words. It's why Sydney Banks said that. It's don't listen to what I'm saying. What I'm talking about is beyond the words. What I'm talking about is a truth beyond your beliefs, right? So beyond the belief that you should follow your bliss, it is the realization of what that actually means.
Yeah, you have to live life and pay attention.
Yeah, that's actually it, right? Because words don't teach, only your own life experience can, and it's teaching you all the time. The reason it's teaching you all the time is because the laws of the universe are invariable. They are constant and never changing. So you have to live life and pay attention. Life will teach you how it works. This reality teaches you who you are, your true nature, and the nature of reality. It is teaching you all the time. You don't need to listen to me. You don't need to listen to any other teacher. You don't need to listen to anyone, because your own life is teaching you all the time.
Yeah, I'll finish, Dominic, by sharing this because it was such a recent experience that I really wanted to be sad about something. And on the outside, I was, right? You would see there were tears, there was a feeling of sadness, but there was a much deeper feeling of, you're not sad.
Oh, wow. That's powerful.
Yeah, and that's what I mean by live life and pay attention. It's like, gosh, if it really looked and felt to a level that there was pain and sadness, but underneath there was this deep knowing of well-being, I suppose is the word that I would use, of like, you're not sad.
Beautiful. That's beautiful. That's right there. No, this is going to sound so strange, but in that moment, was not that sadness blissful?
Yeah. Yeah. And what was also blissful was the awareness of the resistance to it, because the little Lisa in the game was like, I want to be sad about this. But the bigger Lisa was like, you don't need to worry. Like, you don't,
Yes.
you
Yes.
know who you are. And so they were bumping up against each other, but this one was so much bigger and more blissful. Yeah.
And so this is what a great story to sort of put all together for this. Because see, there's the freedom you're describing right there. You're fully engaged in the game. You're fully engaged in the game with all the movement. And there you were. Here's the thing. There you were in sadness, in complete alignment.
Yeah.
Do you see how? Do you
Cool.
see how you were in sadness and in complete alignment with all that you are? Now, those law of attraction teachings that talk about high vibration, you were in high vibration.
Yeah.
In an experience of sadness from the state of high vibration, high alignment, the perspective of all that you are. There's no fear of any experience, is there?
No.
When you know who you are, there's no fear of any experience. What's that Sydney Banks? If the only thing that people learned was not to be afraid of their own experience, that alone would change the world. I recently had a very close friend of 30 years die. Oh, we spoke for it died about a month ago. No, it's almost 2. It was in April. We spoke weekly for I don't know how many years we've been speaking weekly, at least 30 minutes. He's my friend Norman Sobel. He was and by the way, he's still around. He's as outrageous as he always was. But anyway, even more outrageous now that he's not limited. So I see the interactions all the time. But we'd speak all the time. And by the way, not because of me, because of who he was. I could like just kind of go on with my life. Not Norman. Norman's like, when are we talking this? Are we talking Saturday morning or is Sunday better for you? It's like he created the relationship and it kept right. So he passed away, and oh my God, the pain of that, the grief of that, the shock of it, because it was a big surprise. But like your story, as this was happening to me, it was so interesting to me because I had no desire to in any way stop or interfere with what was happening or what I was feeling. If you had come to me to say, oh, that's okay, Dominic, I would have been seriously annoyed. Don't tell me I can't feel this. Because this feeling is so beautiful. This feeling is as painful as I've ever felt. It's as horrible a feeling as I've ever felt, right? It's as despair and in this moment. And it's so beautiful. It's so beautiful because it's it was experienced by me as the extent of love. It's almost like the love that I had was never fully realized until that moment. Imagine. I mean, not fully known, not fully experienced until in that contrasting moment. To me, it was just a beautiful feeling. I had zero fear about it. It's like broader perspective. You're not living your life. You're not going to be living the rest of your life in this feeling. There's no fear about. All feelings move. But it was so beautiful. And I did not want to get over it faster. This is why I'm saying if you tried to come and console me or whatever it is, I'd be like, okay, can you go away for a bit? Because I'm having my own moment here. And there's nothing wrong with my moment. I don't need to be out of it. And it is quite, an appreciation for it. So complete alignment in that feeling.
Yeah, beautiful. Thank you for sharing with us.
Yeah.
Dominic, thank you.
Yeah, this has been great. Yeah, I love these conversations, and I love your questions. I always love going back to them to really hear what got said, because were it not for the co-creating these interactions, those expressions, like the questions you're asking me, result in an expression of something I did not know.
Yeah, it's cool. It's cool to see what emerges just from, curiosity, essentially.
Yeah.
Thanks.
So thank you for that. And I know you had picked or had us another topic that we may come back with, where it was something around the what is, and it's sort of like we're often told about being with what is and being in the present moment. And again, this is a bit of a paradox, because there's a certain truth to being in the now and being present. So we'll come back in a different conversation about that. But it's like misunderstood as you need to be in reality, you need to be in this present moment with what is, and any desire outside of that is just, that's a big problem, right? And I just love what Abraham says about this, is you did not come here to face reality. You did not come to face reality. You came to create your own reality.
Yeah, I think what I keep hearing time and time again is what we just talked about with the feeling. And it's like, don't make me be anywhere other than in this feeling, right? This is really loving what is. This is being
there you go. There you go.
Acceptance of what is. This is the reality. This is what is right now. And I don't want to be anywhere else. This is it. And at some point I will create, like at some point. So it's like, this isn't the end of, I'm not going to stay in this feeling forever. There's going to be and something else emerge. And I think there's a whole conversation that we
beautiful.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. I will just stop the recording and